73875 KTGR. The Big Show starts now.
You bet it does. Welcome in to Tuesday's edition of The Big Show on your total sports station, KTGR. It's Andy Humphrey and Brendan Schaefer here. Thanks for hopping in as we live in this world now where Indiana has won the football national championship. Football.
Yeah.
Clear.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point where that would have sounded insane. I think by the time last night arrived, given that it was the heavy expectation, we kind of were able to brace for it a little bit, but it's very bizarre to have it be that momentous occasion for a team that's never done it, and yet by the time we got there Monday night, it was completely the expected result. A little bit surreal, but that's where we are. And I'm also kind of sitting here wondering today, Andy, why can't it be me? Indiana gets to have all the fun.
Yeah.
Come on. Missouri's never. Oh, come on. We couldn't we have? Why not me?
I'm sure there are a lot of programs across the country that are asking that same question. So we'll get into that.
I think there's a lot of programs across the country saying if Indiana can do it, we can too. And that might be a dangerous mentality that we should talk about whether or not that's actually the case.
I think so. Give us your thoughts on that. How do you look at college football differently now that Indiana has hoisted the national championship trophy? We'll get to that. We'll get to Mizzou hoops talk as they take on Georgia tonight. Big game. Georgia ranked number 21. Mizzou trying to get a ranked win there. And so we'll talk about that at 5:25. We'll have our good, bad, ugly from the NFL weekend. And talk injuries. We'll talk about that Bo Nix injury with the injury expert Will Carroll at 4:25. And also Mizzou wrestling coach Brian Smith. Tiger Style had a couple wins this weekend on the road. Pretty impressive stuff from them. We'll ask the head coach Brian Smith about his team coming up here at 5:45. Call or text us here at 875-KTGR. You can also tweet us at KTGR Big Show. We're live on Facebook and YouTube right now. YouTube.com/@KTGR Sports and Facebook.com/KTGR Big Show.
Now, the Big Show's Big Deal.
Yeah, Indiana got it done last night, and it was a good game. We were kind of hoping that it would be pretty close, and I think that's what we got. Miami with a chance to essentially have the football with less than 2 minutes to go, drive down the field, and get a game-winning touchdown. Didn't happen. Fernando Mendoza, an excellent moment towards the end in a game where he maybe struggled a little bit, but that's just the type of game you get in the national championship sometimes. But Indiana gets it done. It begs the question, after Indiana was a 3-win team 2 years ago, Curt Cignetti comes in, turns them completely around, and gets a ring out of it. Can other programs do this exact same thing as everybody, I guess, officially turns the page to 2026, but most college football programs have looked to this upcoming season for a while now. Transfer portal closed, everything like that. And that is the Big Show's Big Deal on this 20th day of January 2025. Give us a call or text at 573-875-KTGR.
You turned the clock back there.
Well, what happened?
You called it 2025. I think that's the first slip up we've had in quite a while.
On the date.
We lost a full year. Not a day, but a year.
Well, again, I'm trying to just, go back to the world where Indiana wasn't national champions and things felt a little more normal.
That's a good point. Because when Indiana's not the national champion in football, you don't have to sit here thinking, oh, man, that kind of feels like in an alternate dimension, this is Missouri that we're celebrating because it's a non-traditional team. It's not a blue blood. It's not a team that's done it a bunch of times before. It's Indiana we're talking about. I mean, you go back a couple of years, Mizzou has a much better historical track record in football than Indiana. And now they've laughed everybody. And everybody's sitting here now going, well, why not us? Why can't we? Can we be next? Maybe, it's not just Missouri fans I'm seeing say this. It's just this notion that, well, if Indiana can win, anybody can win. That's sort of what is, I guess, being perpetrated out there. And people are drumming that up and wondering if maybe that's, well, it's the NIL era, Andy. Anything can happen. Right. That's sort of the attitude by some, and it's a hopeful attitude. I don't know if it's a realistic one, but it is hopeful. It's nice
that's
to
the
think
thing.
About.
And by the way, I I'm happy that Indiana won. I'm not saying that we want to go back to the world where they didn't. It's like that's awesome. Like
it's a great story.
The Indiana story is one of the greatest in sports, period.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Certainly the greatest in college football history. And again, transcending to other sports, there are going to be such great movies made again about this story here. So like that was fantastic. And to see it culminate last night in the manner that it did with all the storylines, Mendoza
play.
I mean, just
the bulldozer. That was unbelievable.
It was awesome. And so like through all of that, you get this world in college football now that's possible.
Yeah.
Having a program completely turn around. Indiana, like, we should not forget how awful they were. When you lost to Indiana, you were having existential questions about your program.
We did.
We kind of know this because Mizzou fans. Yeah, that happened about a decade ago. Ironically, in a year where Mizzou went to the SEC championship game, they turned things around after that, got things done. But still, it was not fun in the moment. And in the moment over the last, not even just decade or few decades, century, when you lost to Indiana football, it was not good. So now that team is presumably a powerhouse in this sport. Yeah.
Oh, they are.
They are.
It's over. I mean, they are. Yeah. They are overnight Georgia. They are overnight Bama. In a blink of an eye, they are those programs.
And how many programs out there, like, say, Oregon, that have been they've been really good teams for a couple decades in a row now. All of this support, all of the branding, all of the momentum.
They lost to them twice this year.
And they still don't have a national championship through all that. They've been a lot better for a lot longer than Indiana has, and they still don't have a ring. It's just I wonder now how many teams will think, like, have bloated minds about what they can do going forward.
Oh, fan bases are going to have it. Yeah. I mean, for sure, fan bases are going to have it. It's like you popped Indiana into the microwave, and 60 seconds later, out came a national champion. That's how it feels, and so it feels as though that should be replicable for your team, for my team, for anybody's team. Here's the reality. It's not. We just had the greatest coach in the history of college football spawn overnight, and just he's hoisted upon us, and he took Indiana. And you might say, Brendan, that's saying a lot. A year ago, you were calling him a fraud. Yeah, I thought he was way too conservative in their opportunity in the college football playoff a year ago. But, like, he was brand new. Oh, yeah, he's that guy from JMU. Yeah, they've had a nice little rise. We didn't really know anything about what the Curt Cignetti experience was about to bring to us all.
We had to Google him.
A year later, he told us to, and he was right. He wins, and he's continued to win. And, like, there can't be any doubters anymore. I get it. The Big Ten, we could talk about, it's a top-heavy league, and they maybe don't play. I mean, you bring in the gauntlet. 16-0 hasn't been done, and I know the scheduling of college football now allows for it, whereas in previous recent years it wasn't something that you could
except for 1894 when Yale did it. But
that's what I'm saying. 150 years or whatever, 140 years. Andy, this guy is a freak. He's a freak. And by the way, like, he won him the game last night with his in-game coaching. It's not just his ability to recruit or rally the troops or, adhere to the NIL era to get boosters like a Mark Cuban on board and say, yeah, sure, I'll start giving my billions to you. Like that, you get credit for that when you can recruit not only the players, but the donors, that he's been able to say, hey, this is how college football works now. You have a boatload of money. I will get you a championship for the team that you care about. Okay, he can do that. But in the game, to call the timeout when Miami is driving and he feels his team kind of on its heels a little bit, Andy. It's a very disciplined football team that starts committing penalties on that drive. I really feel like that made a difference in the moment when the game is speeding up on his defense, his elite defense that you're going to see NFL players from this defense. He calls the timeout, and Carson Beck throws an interception. He Carson Becks on the very next play. That's eerie. I mean, that's spooky. And Indiana was like the perfect team this year. Yes, they played some games against some bums of the Big Ten because it's not as deep of a league, but they played enough games to where you can't be sitting as a doubter here on this Tuesday going, I don't know about Indiana. I'm not sure they were that good. Brother, they were that good.
That good.
And there's a week other than just capitulate and admit that Kurt Cignetti is him.
Yeah, and he doesn't grow on trees, right? Like
that's the problem. That's the
thing.
problem for the rest of us.
Because like, what are schools like Oklahoma State looking at right now? And they say, well, surely Eric Morris can do that for us, right?
Now he might be able to. He's got that mess maker. They might be.
Hey.
You might have been. That might be a bad example.
But still, like, I think it's very. It is very telling how it might affect the future of college football. Like, let's put it in this scenario, Brendan. Maybe a school that didn't fire a coach this past year, but maybe has a coach that's somewhat on the hot seat going into 2020. Here's a perfect example. South Carolina. Like, it probably could have moved on from Shane Beamer this year after a really down year. If he goes 7-5 next year, which would be improvement from the year before, but clearly not relevant to the conversation that we're talking about. Does South Carolina
not when Cignetti's running around?
Right. Let's go find our Cignetti. Like, how many schools are going to do that?
Danger zone.
Yeah.
Find your 62-year-old head coach who's never coached at a Power 4.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people trying to find the next Cignetti are going to strike out.
Yeah.
They're going to be lost because he's the secret sauce. Like, he's already in that Mount Rushmore to me where you go, I mean, of this era, Nick Saban and Kirby Smart, Kurt Cignetti. Like, it's already done. We will turn on this Indiana program so fast as a college football fandom because they're going to be the big bad. It's over for everybody else. I really do believe that Indiana is going to roll for as long as Cignetti wants to be there. And I think the moment I realized it was really dire straits was when I was reading about getting Mark Cuban involved. And I was like, oh, once he's got the proof of concept, and this is that 16-0, you are going to see, and we've already seen it in this portal cycle, he's going to be able to get whoever he wants because he's going to pump them out to the pros. It's an overnight blue blood. We've never seen anything like this. And he did it at a power program in terms of like a Big Ten league, a power conference program that was historically as bad as any of them over the last 100 years, 150 years, whatever it's been. It is unmatched, unparalleled, and it just happened for the first time, but I think I can safely say it'll never be done again like this. I mean, this is incredible. And we're just here to witness it and go, oh man. Like, imagine if you were a program that had interviewed Cignetti or had thought about hiring him, but you go a different direction.
Yeah.
That here at Mizzou, we can go, oh, what if we had gotten Jaden Daniels to sign? What if we had gotten Fernando Mendoza to sign? We had some interest in those quarterbacks in recent years. If you interviewed Kurt Cignetti or were looking for a coach and decided, we'll go with this other guy instead, that's a pill you can't ever swallow. That's something, man.
Call or text us 573-875-KTGR. Tell us your thoughts on what this means now for college football, that Indiana has made this drastic turnaround from worst to first. I mean, some other Big Ten teams are probably screwed, but I mean, like, it is a nature of the era because this was not possible without the circumstances of you can pump a bunch of money into a program and have enough resources to bring in as many players as you want. They can transfer whenever they want, and you can rebuild a roster right away. And the playoff is expanded like that. Like, Indiana probably doesn't get the players that they needed this year if they do not make an expanded playoff the year before, right? And like, this does lend to that. So that's what programs, I think, ultimately still will be chasing, is that, look, we were really down this past year. Maybe we missed a bowl, but we can still, that maybe not make it all the way in the national championship. But there are a lot of programs that can say, okay, we can still turn this around and be a playoff team. And then once we're there, then we can start to build off of that and potentially work to the point where Indiana is maybe not in as quick of time as it was, but eventually you can build to that point.
If you've got resources, and this is why Eli Drinkwitz has stressed so much the aspect of needing the resources to be able to compete, because Indiana is not the little sisters of the poor. Like, they were getting their boosters, their donor base to understand. Signetti did this to get them to buy in and say, like, we're going to win here. You're going to really enjoy this ride. Here's what we need. Like, for all the money people around the country in college football, think of all the programs that need donations to be able to compete at the highest level, because now everybody's paying their players. What's amazing about this is, I would say for most of them, the return on investment is not good.
No.
If you're listening now considering donating massive money to Mizzou, just turn us off. Don't listen to what I'm about to say. But, like, realistically, you know,
the ROI isn't really there, right? You're right.
No, it's not. Like, you're donating to Mizzou this past year, and we had some fun, man. Beating Kansas was cool. Like, Bo Prabula cost a lot of money, and then you look at the end of the season and go, all right, we don't even want him back. We got to get somebody different for that price tag, because it didn't work out. But that money doesn't grow on trees. Like, somebody then has to recommit it, redonate it, or, you know, the athletic department has to earn it in revenues, which is why ticket prices go up. This is the way that it works. But Curt Cignetti is the one guy that could say, I got instant ROI for you. Remember that national championship that y'all got to enjoy? Let's win some more of those. It's not going to be hard to sell additional donors. Yeah. Fortune 500s. Are you kidding me? Like, it's over. Curt Cignetti came at the right time, ended up in a place where they were able to understand, like, his vision. I think Eli Drinkwitz has a great vision, but for one reason or another, like, it's hard to get people to commit maybe to something. And I think Mizzou does pretty well with NIL, but they could always be doing better. And so that's where I am, Andy. It's like, man, I don't have the billions of dollars to throw at Missouri. I'm not the Cody Campbell, Texas Tech. Very similar story. Yeah. But, like, that's really what it takes. Cignetti is the combination of the vision, the ability to recruit the money, and then, like, the football acumen. Like I said, he won the game for them on the field last night, in addition to everything he did leading up to it. That's what makes him very unique.
Answer me this. I don't think the clear answer is out there, but if you had to guess, whose roster was more expensive this past year, Indiana or Miami?
Miami paid Carson Beck how much? I'm not saying that Indiana didn't shell out for Mendoza, but I'll bet you it was a more expensive roster for the Hurricanes.
And across the board,
they played at home.
at other positions and everything like that. Yeah, so that's the thing. It's not just about the money. Like, you've got to get it to a certain baseline for sure to compete, but it does take the coach to identify the right talent, find the efficiencies to where you can get this guy in the room and you can do more with him than other coaches can.
They didn't have five-star talent littering their roster for this championship run, where they went 16-0 and didn't lose a game. He's got the five-star transfers coming in. Like, this is only the beginning. The best part of Curt Cignetti is that he's in his mid-60s, so he can't do this forever. But, like, if you're an opposing program, that's got to be a very deflating feeling. Yeah. He's going to, for the next 5+ years, he's going to run this sport. And I'm convinced of it. I don't see any way around it.
See,
I'd be a little nervous to be Ohio State and Michigan right about now. You think, like, we're the Big Ten, we're the big dogs. Like, you have to reckon with them for the next few years for as long as Cignetti is around. And it runs through Indiana. The Big Ten runs through Indiana, and so does the sport. Because the SEC, as much as I think it's a deeper league than the Big Ten, you haven't won anything in terms of a national championship in some recent years.
Well, there can be more. Like, the reason why Indiana was able to rise to the point where they are, it lends to other teams being in the mix, if you ask me. So, yeah, Indiana's at the top right now, and they can continue to churn out talent and continue to have years where they make the playoff and continue to get that support as long as Cignetti is there. It may not be, they did play close games this year though. So, like, those margins can always flip in another team's favor. So, like, I think it lends to just now there are more seats to be had at the table. And look, Indiana can certainly win a bunch of national championships over the next few years or so and run this sport. But I think it's also, you can have more teams in the mix that compete for those same spots. Yeah. And maybe every so often you have a chance to beat that team on the right day. And it's just casting a wider net now of the teams that have access to the playoff, to a national championship, and they perfected it.
And what's crazy is Miami's 2 plays away from maybe winning the national championship game themselves last night. If you don't throw the interception, if you could, they were driving. I thought maybe interesting to kick the field goal to go up 6. Obviously you trust the defense. Earlier in the game on the Mendoza play where he bulldozes for 15, 20 yards,
right?
They made the opposite decision and said, we go for it.
It's fair.
Because that going up 6 puts you in a spot where you can lose the natty on the next drive. I thought maybe he would go for it there, but this idea of forcing them to put it in the end zone against your defense that's given up very few touchdowns all year. Like, who am I to question it? This guy he's a stone cold killer in terms of coaching football. And so I thought it was a very interesting decision. It was a great game. Like, it ended up being a really compelling game last night. Yeah. Miami, throughout their playoff run, I think I had compared them to last year's Ohio State, where you hit some bumps in the road at times during the year, but you gear up to become the team that you were meant to be during the playoffs. I think they did that. I think Indiana was better this year, and so Miami played a really good game. Not a perfect game, but a good game, and they fell short against a really, really good team.
875-KTGR if you want to give us a call or a text on this. We are going to get to Will Carroll, the injury expert, here soon, but I want to just tie it to Mizzou, right? Because that's ultimately what you care about. How does Mizzou now operate in this world where it is possible for a team like Indiana to go all the way to the national championship and win it in as quickly as they did? I see it one of 2 ways, Brendan. Let's branch out a couple of scenarios here. Eli Drinkwitz, let's say this year is not what Mizzou fans ultimately want. The 9-game schedule eats up the Tigers a little bit more so than other teams in the league, struggle, have scrape and claw to get to bowl eligibility. They still get there, but it's
7-5,
something like that. Yeah, 7-5, maybe 6, whatever. And then there are increased calls then of my gosh, we gave Eli Drinkwitz the extension, all of the support, everything like that. If there can be quick turnarounds all of a sudden in college football, like we just saw, then we need to maybe turn up the pressure for it to happen a little bit sooner.
You don't want people getting antsy.
Right.
You don't want people getting antsy.
I am sure in that scenario, there will be at least a few people who pull out of strings with the support that Mizzou gets that will feel a little bit antsy. But then there's also the scenario where, hey, Mizzou does well. They're able to get some key signature wins in some good spots and go at least 9-3 and maybe make the playoff even at 9-3. Who knows what it's going to look like? And eventually they will get to the spot where everybody was hoping them to be, but it doesn't happen at the other places. And we see the pressure turned up on so many other programs that go 6-6, 7-5, and they go ahead and fire their coaches.
Yeah.
And
the coaching salaries keep rising because everybody's desperate to match the unmatchable.
And we see a carousel like we saw this past year where so many big openings came up and then there was such ripple effect from it. And then Eli Drinkwitz's name gets brought up again. So I see a couple scenarios like that.
That could happen. I'm not as worried about it from that perspective. I hear what you're saying. I feel like that down the road, that could be the end result. And you hate to think that that's a possibility because in an era where the people in Indiana were able to have the vision to know that this is a possibility if you invest in the right way. You'd love to think that the folks at Missouri would have the same thing. And I think to this point they have. To their credit, this last cycle was one where we thought, the coach might get poached, and it didn't end up happening for whatever the reasons were. At the end of the day, he's still here guiding the program. Now we're in a portal period, though. We're a little bit underwhelming. Now you get the cornerback from Ole Miss. You very well may get a wide receiver from Ole Miss as well. Mm-hmm. Is if Austin Simmons has anything to say about it with his social media posts recently. Very clear. So I still think Missouri is going to have a really good run at things this next year. But what's interesting is when you think about Indiana and the fact that on any given day maybe they would have lost to Penn State or whatever. Which, by the way, I was rewatching that catch today that won Indiana the game against Penn State, and the kid got 2 feet down. That's one of the best catches I've ever seen.
That's the margin. That's the margin it takes sometimes.
But it's almost like Cignetti is this majestic figure that the teams he coaches, they're going to do that stuff.
Right.
So there will be years where Indiana loses a game or two along the way, but the beauty of the expanded playoff for them is kind of like Ohio State this year. Indiana's season won't start until December. You'll get to a point where They're going to win. They're going to roll out of bed and win 10 games with Cignetti. Like, I do not see a world in which Indiana misses the playoff next year. And so that ends up, and they're going to get the benefit now of sort of the blue blood or aura of, well, they're 10-2 and they lost to so-and-so, but they're, it's Cignetti. It's
see what
Indiana.
They did last year, right? Yeah.
That's going to get real interesting to then get to see Cignetti match up against some of these other coaches. Because with all due respect, Kurt Cignetti against Mario Cristobal is just not even fair. I just do not think very highly.
I do like the job
him.
that Cristobal did, but I
did a good job this year. But you can think of things he's done in the past where you're like, this is checkers versus something beyond chess when we talk about coaching matchups. So Cignetti's going to have some of these. I want to see more of them in the SEC, but there's so much turnover in the SEC. It's like, who's he not better than? It's just he's gonna run this thing, and overnight blue blood is kind of a crazy thing, but it is. It's an overnight blue blood, and we'll see if it becomes an overnight dynasty at Indiana over there in Bloomington. Crazy to think about, but that's where we are.
Call or text us with your reaction to Indiana pulling off that great turnaround over 2 years from 3 wins to a national champion after beating Miami last night. 573-875-KTGR. The injury expert Will Carroll joins us next. We talk about Bo Nix's injury and when exactly he might have injured his ankle and whatever bone was broken there and why he's going to be missing the rest of the playoffs for the Broncos. That's next with the injury expert Will Carroll on The Big Show.
Follow The Big Show on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And keep it here on your total sports station, KTGR.
Lose weight or stop smoking with Hypnosis Guaranteed or your money back. No matter how many times you failed in the past, this hypnosis is guaranteed to work.
After this hypnosis, I want to eat good food.
Since August, I can honestly say I have not had one potato chip.
It was life-changing for me.
And I don't think about desserts like I used to.
Bridget, how much have you lost now?
I have lost a total of 83 pounds.
Holy cow.
It's easy, it's fun, very relaxing, and very successful.
And I would just say go for it.
Oh my, what are you waiting for? Lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed, only $59.99. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings, late-day eating binges, boredom eating, stress eating. Hypnosis, Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn, Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30 p.m., stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m. Registration 30 minutes before. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
We're moving faster and faster these days with limited time to make an impact on potential customers. Hi, this is Jimmy at Pro Designs. For nearly 2 decades, we've worked with companies to build strong brands. At Pro Designs, our team can create a vehicle wrap to drive market share, growth, and profits. Connect with your customers on the go, on the road, and on the job site.
Visit us on the web at PRODEZIGNS.com.
Come see them at their locations in Eldon or Columbia off Rangeline Street and I-70.
Pro Designs, but better than a billboard.
You're a merchant of all things that are man. Firearms, fishing, cars, food, sports. Yeah, the kind of stuff every man always needs more of. So show it off at the Mecca of Man, the 2026 Como Man Show, Saturday, March 14th at the Northeast Event Center where the Boone County Fair is held. It's the best and most fun way to show every man they need what you got. Seriously, by showing them. Bring your best stuff, show it off, and have a blast. For more info on being a vendor at the Man Show, go to ComoManShow.com.
This is the year she gets an upgraded diamond. The year that dad finally gets his retirement watch. And the year that your daughter graduates. So you give her the necklace she's always dreamed of. Family Pawn is not your traditional pawn shop, but they are your secret to saving big on stunning jewelry for every occasion. Family Pawn, where you'll find timeless treasures for a fraction of the cost. FamilyPawn.com.
Not your traditional pawn shop. Family Pawn.
Guys like me that are born and raised in this area and are running a company here, we want to do things for the customers the right way.
Barry Rowe of True Sun Exteriors knows it's important to stay local.
Storm chasers that come into town or fly-by-night companies, they'll do things for less money than we will, but that's because they don't intend to do it correctly, and they certainly don't intend to fix it because they're going to be gone or out of business. They'll come into town and get a local phone number and a local PO address so they can say that they're local. Well, they're not local. It's extremely important, especially with roofs and windows those and big projects that you choose someone who cares about what's going on. You may pay a few $100s more for it, but it's better than saving a few $100s and then a year down the road having to redo the whole project again with someone local and just going through the headache of having to do that again and having all the issues. The difference between a house and a home is the attention to detail. At True Sun Exteriors and Interiors, we'll turn your vision of a dream home into a reality. For more information or a free estimate, go to TrueSunExteriors.com.
TrueSunExteriors.com.
Tired of calling Andy and Brendan? So are their wives. Then shoot them a text right now. 573-875-KTGR and become part of the Big Show.
We're back here on the Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. Andy and Brendan here as we have now hit the championship round of the NFL playoffs and some key injuries to talk about from the divisional round as there are 4 teams remaining. And now joining us in the KTGR hotline is the injury expert, Will Carroll. You can go and subscribe to his newsletter, undertheknife.substack.com, to see some injury info when it comes to Major League Baseball as we get closer to that season. But when it comes to all things injuries, Will's the guy. And when it came to the football this past weekend, Will, the most puzzling one, I guess, would be Bo Nix. After the game, they say he had a broken bone in his ankle, and everyone's trying to figure out, okay, when was the play where it actually happened? Yeah. They say it. I mean, they pinpointed it themselves, but I still think it's not all the way clear. How did you kind of see that situation, Will?
This is a crazy one. Let me start off by saying I apologize if it's loud in here. I'm actually in a hotel bar in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And I also have to start off with Go Hoosiers. That was just an amazing game last night. So for those who don't know, I live in Indianapolis normally. The Knicks one is really unusual. And more than anything, this is a reminder that injuries decide championships. This is an unlucky injury. This isn't one of those things that just happens like Charbonnet's ACL. Those happen. This is just a quirky, out-of-nowhere injury. Yeah, they say it was the second to last play. Yeah, you can see him kind of getting whipped and bending a little bit. But bending doesn't really tell us anything. I think you're right. Your instinct is right. You've learned well, Andy. It just doesn't seem. Is this something that he had a stress fracture that was unknown, or a stress reaction, which is basically just the start of a stress fracture? There's so many things where we don't know the full etiology. These things start quietly, and by the time they get loud, it's too late. And that's why sometimes something like you twist your ankle a little bit and they take an x-ray and they go, oh, it's broken. Or, is this just a freakish play where he gets hit and the bone just gives? That's plausible. For Knicks, unfortunately, it doesn't matter. It's going to have to be pinned. It was out of place. This wasn't just some small fracture. This was pretty nasty, especially considering he didn't look to be in that much pain. He did an interview. He was walking. Those are all the things we think of. Maybe if it's just a little fracture, if such a thing exists. But this is a pretty nasty one that's going to have to be pinned in place. So it's just unfortunate. We'll see whether Jarrett Stidham deserves all the praise that he got early in the season. Knicks, he wasn't competing with Knicks, but they were very clear that they thought they had a really good quarterback. Some of that's puffery because you always want to be able to trade your backup quarterback in some situations. They brought in Sam Ehlinger. They brought in somebody from the practice squad that I forget, but he was doing TV, which I thought was funny. This is just one of those quirky injuries. He'll be fine for next season, but if you're the Patriots, you got to be feeling pretty good about what you're going to be facing next week.
Definitely at the quarterback position. I'm curious, though, Will, is there a chance that J.K. Dobbins could return for this round, or would he be more of a look at the Super Bowl? And what's the latest on him?
No, looks like he's going to be back this week, and that's necessary. Is he 100%? No, but this changes everything. I mean, they're beat up at wide receiver. We don't know how good Stidham's going to be, whether he's going to be able to execute the full offense. You never think the backup is going to execute the full offense. So are they going to have to run more? Probably. So if J.K. Dobbins can go out there and just give you 8-10 plays, that adds to it. That means you're not breaking down the guys you already have. And if you're just going to have 8 or 10 more runs and 8 or 10 less passes, which is, again, entirely plausible, that's perfect. And that's a great win for the medical staff, getting him back. This could be a decider. Again, injuries decide championships. And so something like this, getting him back a week, actually 2 weeks with the Super Bowl beforehand would be a huge, huge difference maker.
For sure. The injury expert, Will Carroll, here on the Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. And it seems that the Broncos are trying to stave that off as much as possible. I mean, again, with Nix, maybe getting Dobbins back, but also, as you mentioned, their wide receiver room took a bit of a hit in this game. Pat Bryant came out with a concussion, and Troy Franklin, who started really well, then came out with a hamstring. But I mean, we kind of saw a trend this weekend. A few teams eliminated. Certainly were dealing with some injury issues going in. How did you kind of see that? How do you think the Broncos could be holding on against this Patriots group, considering all the offensive differences that there might be?
Yeah, I think the Patriots obviously have to be considered the favorite in a lot of ways, but there's a couple of things here. With all the guys, first they could get Franklin back. He does have time to come back from the concussion since they're playing Sunday, so full week. It's plausible. The next one is the backup quarterback is interesting because you're 4 or 5 men down. I forget all the names, but you're who's the guy? It's like Lil something.
Lil Jordan.
Funny name.
Yeah. Lil Jordan.
Yeah, Lil Jordan. I love that name. It would suck to have it, but it's fun to say. So when you're talking about having a backup quarterback, suddenly depth kind of gets thrown off because he's been playing all year, whether it's scout team, whether it's second team reps, with those guys. So sometimes you do see that 4th, 5th guy he's developed some timing with. You don't like that, but we've seen that more than once. So I don't think it's as bad and negative. Certainly you would rather have the first team guys, but if he's got enough reps with those guys, hey, maybe he's just got great timing with one of these guys. And we don't know it because we haven't had to see it all year.
On to the NFC side of the conversation, Will. When it comes to the Seahawks backfield, it really seemed like throughout the season, the coaches really trust Zach Charbonnet. Obviously, Ken Walker can be an explosive player. We saw that in the last game. How does this impact things, the fact that he's torn his ACL and will, probably be back next year, but obviously they won't have him for the game against the Rams?
Yeah, definitely won't have him for this game. But it's unfortunate. It's bad timing. You saw it happen, and you're just like, okay, they're winning his ACL. I hate that it happened, but it's clear. So now they have to move on to the next guy. Is he as good? No. There's a reason why. One of the phrases I just hate next man up. Because there's a reason we put out depth charts. There's a reason we debate them and talk about them. So when you're putting out the guy who was functionally the number 2, and now you've got to play the number 3. Is he the same kind of guy? Is he a change of pace back? So many times in the modern NFL, we see the same kind of guy. If you watch the Indiana game last night, they've got 2 of the exact same back, but they're so physical, they wouldn't last if there was just one of them. Charbonnet is a little bit different. He's more of the thunder and lightning with Walker. He's more the quick outside guy while Walker takes the ones between the tackle. It's never as cut and dry as that because there's got to be some deception to the play calling. But without him, they have to go down the list, and it's not going to be as good a player. Is it going to be stylistically good? Maybe. Are they going to call plays the same way? We'll see. We don't really have any indication on that. I'm not that worried about Sam Darnold. They'll shoot him up again, and he'll just hope that oblique holds up. It didn't get worse. He looked in at least some discomfort at times. So I'm not sure how much I believe that. I think if they make it through this game, then the 2 weeks will be a huge boon for him. Again, if he can avoid hurting that oblique further, and that's a coin flip.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, Will, because he didn't have to really expend it all that much, it would seem, when they were up so much on the 49ers, and how, again, the run game, Ken Walker had such a great performance. So, I mean, is it a matter of keeping him upright, but also just how concerned would it be when the Rams probably have more personnel that can get after him than the 49ers maybe did at the time?
Yeah, entirely true. And that's the worry. It's less about getting after him. I mean, obviously, you don't want him having to run quite as much. They were able to call plays where he moved a little bit. It's the twisting. It's those throws back across his body like Purdy was trying to make over and over again. But Darnold just simply can't. I don't think he can make those when he's fully healthy. But again, if you can get him through, we see oblique injuries, whether it's baseball, whether it's football, whether it's anything. Obliques just hurt. They're a slight muscle. If you look it up in your anatomy textbook that you surely have lying around, it's just a very thin muscle. It doesn't heal well. It doesn't get a ton of blood flow. And so over and over, it will re-tear. And we've learned that, which is why normally you'll see pitchers and hitters take 3-4 weeks off to make sure they don't re-tear it in that phase where it often does. Darnold doesn't have that kind of time.
Will, I saw that there were a couple of San Francisco 49ers at the Warriors game in which Jimmy Butler suffers a devastating injury. I'm just wondering if this electrical substation theory can now impact people by proxy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about that. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Okay. I can clear this up for you. And there's actually a basketball connection. So a couple of years ago, the 49ers were one of the best teams for injuries in all of football. The last couple of years, they've been one of the worst. What changed? Well, it wasn't an electrical substation because it's been there longer than Levi's. What changed? Ben Peterson, their director of performance, left. Now he's with the Atlanta Hawks. Guess who the healthiest team in the NBA is? Personnel might matter. Those guys behind the scenes might matter. Ben Peterson might matter a lot. The fact that he decided he wanted to take a year off and maybe explore another sport, that's what changed. That's what's doing this. It's not some stupid electrical substation that people have lived to forever. This is the dumbest conspiracy theory. The fact that it's gone into the mainstream media just confounds me. I realize people love conspiracy theories, but at least put some facts behind it. First, they're not that injured. Second, it's all random. If you can tell me how, electrical fields attack ligaments, I don't know. Getting to Jimmy Butler, this one's terrible. This is the end of the Warriors run, and it looks so good. They put so much money towards it. Steph Curry, you want him to have a great end of his career rather than just fading away. But ACLs happen. It's tough. I hate that it happened. I hate that he'll probably just have the standard surgery rather than going for a more advanced surgery. I hate that he'll be out a year because he's one of the 5 or 10 best NBA players and one of the ones that's fun to watch. My nephew loves that guy. I got him a jersey a couple of years ago, probably 3 teams ago. He was so happy. So it's just a simple ACL. There's nothing they could have done to prevent it. It was just one bad step.
Yeah, tough for Jimmy Butler there. Will, this is usually the time where I ask you what's new and under the knife, but you're about to be on a boat in the Caribbean very soon, so I assume Under the Knife will return once you're back stateside.
Oh no, Andy, come on! We have modern technology.
I am mistaken.
We have modern technology where I can put some in a can and it sends it away. I've got a couple of good pieces. One of them is fairly interesting. I think it might actually already be out. Juan Soto talked about wanting to get better defensively since he was, by numbers, the worst defensive outfielder. And I took a look at whether that, but it got me thinking, can someone change their defense? And if anyone can, it's probably Ron Washington. So I took a look at whether Ron Washington's teams could actively get better and found some very interesting things. Also, early next week, I will have the entire presentation I just did for Major League Baseball telling them why they've just lost $1 billion, $1.07 billion to injuries last year, and what they could do. I'll put out that full presentation. I want to say it's next Monday.
All right. So again, great stuff to check out from the injury expert, Will Carroll, even as he is sailing across the Caribbean. So go and check it out at undertheknife.substack.com to read all of his great stuff. And great to have him here on the Big Show, KTGR. Will, thank you so much for taking the time today. Enjoy your voyage, and we'll talk soon, my friend.
Thanks a lot, boys.
Big Show's on at 446 KTGR and the KTGR app. Glad he could clear up the whole 49ers substation conspiracy theory for us.
Yeah, I knew he would have thoughts on that. So I'm glad I tied that into asking about the Butler injury. because it was I think Christian McCaffrey and maybe Kyle Juszczyk that were there, and they showed him on the Jumbotron, and then everybody's going, oh, it's by proximity we're seeing these injuries happen. But
I believe
your explanation.
I believe every word that Will Carroll said about it.
I actually do too. It makes a lot of sense. And if I didn't fact check, but I assume he's not just making it up, but the Hawks have been a pretty healthy team in the NBA. So
now, if I ever find myself in Santa Clara and I have to drive by that substation, I will probably still find an alternate route.
Yeah, just go the other way.
Just to be safe. But
he's going to be so mad at us. It's a joke.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
Mostly a joke for the most part.
Mostly. Yeah. Oh man, we go under the bus from Will for that. We'll throw other things under the bus, like Nick Saban again for complaining about the sport that he left. That's next.
Now, your local Sports Center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good afternoon. I'm Andy Humphrey. This Sports Center update is with Lee's Tire Company. If it's round and rubber, Lee sells it. Go to leestirecompany.com. Again, Mizzou basketball tonight. Tigers will take on number 21 Georgia at Mizzou Arena. Both teams go in with a record of 3-2 in conference play. Georgia is 15-3 overall. Mizzou is 13-5. Mizzou looking to bounce back after a loss at LSU this past Saturday. Tigers and Bulldogs will tip up at 8 p.m. this evening. 7:30 pregame start right here on KTGR. Mizzou football adding to the transfer portal class today, getting a cornerback, Chris Graves Jr. from Ole Miss. He commits to the Tigers after playing in all 15 of the Rebels games as they made a run to the national semifinals. 33 tackles, 4 passes deflected, and 1 forced fumble. He is the 26th transfer that Mizzou has taken this offseason. And the Blues are in action tonight at the Winnipeg Jets. Blues have lost 4 of their last 6, trying to get back in the win column. 7 o'clock puck drop in Winnipeg. Your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast is with Billiards on Broadway, home to fresh hand patty burgers, fresh cut fries, along with some Missouri beers on tap, pool tables, and huge TVs. Get to Billiards on Broadway in downtown Columbia.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. I'm tracking more clouds this evening as a front works its way through mid-Missouri. I'll be tracking temperatures in the upper 20s, and tomorrow we make it into the low 40s with a bit more sunshine. Heading towards Thursday, we're a little bit chillier. Morning temperatures will be in the 20s with highs in the mid-30s. I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on your total sports station, KTGR.
Midway Electric presents the high school sports power play of the week.
Waits for the traffic to clear. Now he gives an outlet up the floor to Priest. Priest to Kritza. Right wing, Davis. Give and go with Kritza. Down low. Kritza up and in with the foul. Kritza takes the arm, gets the hoop. He'll head to the line for one more.
That's the power play of the week with Midway Electric, powered by people with pride. MidwayElectricInc.com.
You're not the kind to make a nice little snow angel when the snow falls. You mark your territory in a different way, with a lemonade autograph. But when others tinkle their title in your business parking lot, you get peed off. Thanks a lot, Chad. Nice cursive work, though. Good for you, Tina. Tina? Wait a minute. Get rid of the snow graffiti with Crutch's Custom Exteriors commercial snow removal. Call Crutch's and get a quote today. Seriously, though, Tina, that's impressive.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
It's a new year, and Aleve is here to help you keep your New Year's resolutions on track. Whether it's a daily walk, hitting the gym, or spending more time with friends and family, Aleve's got your back. With up to 12 hours of body pain relief per dose, Aleve keeps you moving with long-lasting body pain relief so you can chase those dreams and achieve your goals. Don't let body pain slow you down. Keep going with Aleve, because this year is your year. Try Aleve. Use as directed for minor aches and pains.
This is Brian Mays with Family Pawn Stores. We've been working with Zimmer Communications for decades. Since we started our branding campaign, we've seen our business grow by leaps and bounds. I signed on for radio and ended up with website service, digital advertising, plus all the production. Having a partner like Zimmer Communications has been paramount in building our business. I can rely on their staff for every facet of marketing, and that's just been a real relief.
Zimmer Communications. You know business. We grow business. ZimmerCommunications.com.
I stopped smoking with Mark Patrick's hypnosis when nothing else worked. 1 year later, my wife Michelle and I attended the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis seminar. In 2 months, lost 43 pounds, and she lost 18 pounds.
And we feel great.
Hypnosis only $59.99. Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m.
Welcome to every gym in January. Membership prices crazy high. Crowds even worse. All just to wait in line for a bench. Or, hear me out, you could build your own home gym from Play It Again Sports. Free weights, dumbbells, plates, treadmills, ellipticals, benches, racks, and more. New and used. At prices that don't feel like a crime. No crowds, no monthly fees, no awkward eye contact with Chad curling on the squat rack. Play It Again Sports. Think of them first so you don't finish last. PlayItAgainSportsColumbiaMo.com.
From elegant weddings to corporate lunches with flavor and flair, Courtyard by Marriott Columbia brings the party and the pros. It's the home of Main Event Catering. And with every event, you'll get an award-winning chef, full banquet staff, and drop-and-go options for any size crowd. And the event center holds up 300 guests with 8 flexible rooms. If you need help, there's a Marriott certified wedding coordinator on staff too. Book now by calling 573-443-8000.
If it's Mizzou sports, it's happening here. Now, back to the big show on KTGR.
Nick Saban just keeps on complaining. This was yesterday before the national championship game. It was on McAfee. And he, first of all, he went off on like recruiting stars and things like that, and the people who make the rankings and give out the stars, and saying that they're not qualified and the coaches are qualified to actually do that. Okay, so I'm sure that you offered Fernando Mendoza when he was a 2-star guy when you were at Alabama in 2020, right, Nick? Yeah, that's what you did, right? No, he only had Yale, and then he went to Cal. Like, come on. But the thing that irked me the most is that, but the players aren't going to go from the South to the North unless they're being paid. That was his explanation for the Big Ten being so good. I suppose there's some fairness to it.
Protest too much thing all the time. We know you're paying guys, Nick. It's okay.
Yeah.
We get it. We're not mad.
Like, it's the era where now you know that players are being paid, and he didn't want to operate in that era. Yeah, he is. And he claims that he should be the one running college football or being the... No.
He's the arbiter, huh?
No.
By the way, the whole panel but McAfee picked Miami last
I know. That was surprising to me.
I was looking around, was like, is this like a prank? Am I being punked just to see like what my reaction's going to be to this? I'm not saying Miami had no chance, but that was kind of surprising to see.
Yeah, I was ready for it to be a clean sweep and be like, okay, all right, Indiana's going to win then, and all that jazz. And then also under the bus to Darian Mensah of Duke. He's trying to be formerly of Duke. He's trying to enter the transfer portal, even though he signed a contract and he's got multiple years, and Duke is suing him and trying to get a temporary restraining order. I don't think they got that from the judge, but this is kind of similar to DeMond Williams over Washington. That's happening at Duke.
Yeah, and we'll see if he continues to pursue this. Who wants him? Is that reported? Is it?
I don't know.
I don't know who's luring him, because when there's a moment like this, you kind of figure somebody's trying to say, hey, we're going to pay you this if you enter the portal.
Yeah, he's been linked to Miami. I'm reading from this ESPN story.
Yeah, it makes sense.
All right. So, I mean, if he wants to enter the portal and get a payday from Miami, I suppose he wants to. But sorry, buddy, he signed it. Like, I think there's precedent now when it comes to that, which I'm surprised that we even needed precedent for. When you sign contracts, you must adhere to them. And here are the ramifications if you don't. Yeah, college football these days. Happy 91st birthday, Norm Stewart. Glad to see him still doing well and being a presence and everything like that. And Tigers play today. See if they can get the old coach a chance to win on his birthday.
Mizzou Hoops has to win on Storm and Norman's birthday.
Yeah.
I mean, that just feels right. So let's get that win over the Bulldogs, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about if they can get that done coming up at 5:25, but we will get first our good, bad, and ugly in from NFL divisional round weekend. Call or text us if you want to give us your good, bad, and ugly here in just a little bit. 875-KTGR. You can also sound off on the national championship if you want. We'll also talk to Brian Smith, another Mizzou coaching legend. He'll talk with us about his Mizzou wrestling program that did well over the weekend in Big 12 competition. 5:45, they'll join us here on The Big Show, KTGR.
I'm Tyler, and I've been a marketing consultant with Zimmer Communications. I joined Zimmer because my background was in helping local businesses grow in their marketing. It's cool working here because I get to work with people that I can actually call my friends, and it's a really encouraging environment. I think the energy is good because we enjoy working together. Everybody on the team brings something unique to the table so that we're building on each other's strengths. It's a great place to be because they give you all the tools you need to be successful.
If you're up for the challenge, apply now at ZimmerCommunications.com.
Would you care for some nightmare fuel? It's 5 a.m., and while you're still shaking off the cobwebs from the previous night's snooze, something else is lurking in another web. Time for a shower. Reach down to start the water, and it's a spider. 8 eyes watching you, and now 8 legs coming right for you. You know what you need? 5 stars. Not like throwing stars, although to be fair, you'd use just about anything to kill that dastardly shower spider. All you need is a 5-star service plan from Steve's Pest Control. Steve scares the life out of pests. Oh, who are we kidding? Steve and his team don't scare them, they kill them. All of them. And because your fear of spiders, wasps, termites, and other insects is very real, Steve's is here to let you know that he and his team are real too. They're not some corporate conglomerate. They're legendary, local, and 100% real.
Hi, I'm Steve with Steve's Pest Control. We're going to solve your pest problem. I guarantee it.
Now you got a friend in the pest control business. Steve's Pest Control.
Life has many sweet sounds. Whether it's being enchanted by the coo of a baby, enthralled by the refrain of a favorite song, or even enlightened by a celebration, hearing connects, informs, and engages us with the world. At Hearing Aid Consultants, helping people hear better is our passion. Set your hearing baseline now so you don't miss the sweet sounds of life.
Hearing Aid Consultants in Allmake Repair Lab. We are here for you today so you can hear tomorrow. HearingAidConsultants.com.
KTGR AM Columbia, KTGR FM Fulton Columbia, K286CL Columbia, in Missouri's total sports station. KTGR. Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. Giants players past and present on hand today as the team introduced new head coach John Harbaugh. He said he wanted to be on the biggest stage in the biggest sport. That's why he took the job. Knows of the challenges and expectations. He called his focus simple: build a team that's physical, tough, smart, and disciplined, and plays the game the way it should be played. Harbaugh's impact on the Giants will be immediate, predicts ESPN NFL analyst Dan Orlovsky.
A different culture overnight. You know, the Giants, before they hired Coach Harbaugh, it was a losing culture. It was a losing organization. The minute they hire Coach Harbaugh, it automatically goes to, well, it's now a winning culture. At least the guy that's running the place now has in his blood winning. And then 2, the expectations are they'll be competitive next year.
The trespassing charge against Vikings receiver Jordan Addison, stemming from a January 12th visit to a casino in Florida, has been dropped by a Florida state attorney. With the charge dropped, it is unlikely that Addison faces any discipline from the NFL. Indiana and Ohio State, co-favorites to win next season's college football playoff, each 7-1 at DraftKings Sportsbook.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance flexes to fit your business's needs, from quick repairs to adjustable coverages and even payment options. Progressive Commercial makes it easy to get what you need. Quote today in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
From Faro, 15 to the 10, to the house, push, back to the wall, and it's got her. And Arrowhead, touchdown, Kansas City. To your speakers. This is the big show, baby. Get fresh takes on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Right now, this is the Big Show with Andy and Brendan on KTGR.
We got the NFL divisional round, the good, the bad, and the ugly coming up here in just a few minutes. I think we're going to have a hard time finding anybody to top Samuel's list. We'll share that with you coming up soon. But there was a lot that happened, and certainly some ugly things that happened when you think about the fact that Jarrett Stidham will be starting a game in the AFC Championship this coming Sunday. So get your thoughts in, 573-875-KTGR. And, of course, we'll preview Mizzou men's basketball tonight on Norm Stewart's birthday. Who you got as the Tigers host the Bulldogs from Georgia? We'll also chat with Brian Smith of Mizzou Wrestling before we get out of here. Once again, the number to call or text us is 573-875-KTGR. But first, it's 5 o'clock.
It's time for the Top 5 at 5 on The Big Show. Number 1.
If you want to trade away for curtain number 1, you can have curtain 1.
So what did Indiana winning the national championship mean for college football? Well, first of all, it's the greatest college football story ever. I don't think anything tops it. From a 3-win team in 2023 to national champions 2 years later, Curt Cignetti has done something unthinkable in how we kind of view college football. But I think it does mean that we should view college football differently. And while there are schools now that think, hey, we can rise up our program and get to a threshold that gets us a lot more support. The table has never been wider for teams to join the mix of competing for a national championship. That said, still think of Curt Cignetti as more of the exception than the rule. You can't expect to just go from out of a bowl competition to national champions in 2 years at every place. You need the right coach. Cignetti is by far the right coach. So teams do need to take this with a grain of salt as they try to build up their programs for the future.
Number 2.
Number 2, your timing is impeccable.
Of course, Mizzou trying to build up for 2026. A key addition I think they got today. They got the commitment of former Ole Miss cornerback Chris Graves Jr. was one of their starters mainly during their championship run to the national semifinals. And he joins a corner room for Mizzou that needs a lot of help. Graduated their top 3 guys, had a couple other guys enter the portal. So I think the depth's been pretty well built up there, and Graves, I think, is going to be a good centerpiece of the defense. We'll see as Mizzou tries to keep at it.
Number 3.
Mizzou Hoops tonight, they host Georgia, and the Tigers have an opportunity this week. Couple of home games. I think you need to reach for 2-0 this week. That would get you to 5-2 in the SEC before you go and visit Alabama next week. And you could see some higher spots in the standings if you reach that record. This will be a tough test, though. Georgia has been scoring the basketball at will, it seems, throughout conference play. We'll see how the Tigers can match up. 8 o'clock tip-off tonight, 7:30 pregame on KTGR.
Number 4.
Oh, shanked it.
I think we're going to learn in just a little bit who made the Baseball Hall of Fame from the writers' ballots. Not very many newcomers on the ballot. I think only Cole Hamels, but the guys who were polling in the area where they can probably make it, Carlos Beltran, former Cardinal and Royal, and also Andrew Jones, long time for the Braves. We'll see who makes it as the announcement should come soon.
Number 5.
What is the 5 fingers? Say to the face. Slap.
I really do want somebody to run college football and be the commissioner. I really don't want it to be Nick Saban.
That's the Big Show's Top 5 at 5 on KTGR.
573-875-KTGR. You want to give us a call or a text. I mean, it might be beneficial for it to be a former coach. Like, I would not balk at that. I would want all different realms of folks to If this was ever a position created, I would want people from all different types of fields to at least state their case as to why they deserve it. But it is clear that Nick Saban is just here to complain. And he gets to sit on TV and get a big contract to do exactly that.
That's the dream, baby.
Yeah, can't blame him, right?
But, he's done a few things before this stage of his career to, I guess, earn the platform. But I agree with you. I wouldn't want to see him be the commissioner of the sport, because I think as much as there do need to be maybe some tweaks as to how we're handling the portal and NIL and everything that is now dominating the sport, it's very clear to me that Saban retired because he didn't want to deal with those things, and he thinks there's a right way that the college football should be administered. And I don't think it fits the era, to be honest with you. And so, yeah, I let him be old man yells at a cloud. I respect him, obviously, as one of the greatest ever. I just don't need him in charge of the sport.
Let him run
in terms of decision-making moving forward.
Let him run his Verbo or whatever he does now.
There he goes.
Right.
Awesome. Happy
Just
for
as
you.
the ad says. 875-KTGR. Give us a call or a text if you want to chime in on the national championship, Indiana winning it all, what it means for college football, and the like. But we do want to re-up this, as we always do on Tuesday. Good, bad, and ugly from NFL divisional weekend of the 4 games. What was good, what was bad, and what was downright ugly. 573-875-KTGR if you want to give us yours. Let's throw up the comment here from Bruce here, which I think is very good. Yeah, he had a good one here.
All right, his good, the crowd pop of the Shaheed kickoff return right there at the beginning of the game between the Seahawks and the 49ers, and there was a crowd pop, and you feel that in a playoff environment. Even watching it on TV, you're going, okay, I think I know what we're in for over the next 3 hours. And that was exactly the case. The Seahawks end up dominating that game over the 49ers. The bad, the cameraman on Carroll Santos' 51-yard field goal.
Yeah.
They thought he kicked it to the moon.
I was kind
What
of
happened?
I was a little bit spooked by that, because I was jurisdiction of legalitying some kicking stuff in that.
Really?
And I was ultimately not successful. But that was one that I was paying attention to, and I was, where's the ball? What happened here?
Yeah.
Oh, he
Because
made it.
normally,
Oh, thank God.
When you get that camera angle, you normally think something has gone terribly, terribly wrong. By the way,
Yeah.
your mention of jurisdiction of legality.
Yes.
I have to share this or I'm going to explode.
Last
night.
Yeah.
Last night on the national championship, I was
Okay.
cooking. Malachi Toney receiving yards, Charlie Becker receiving yards, and Becker's big catch on that late drive for Indiana to seal it was not really to seal it, but that late drive for Indiana was the yardage I needed from Becker, and it was an unbelievable catch by him. I thought I had won it, but the third leg that I thought it was brilliant was Malachi Toney rushing yards. Just needed 4.5 of them, and on his 22-yard touchdown, they originally ruled it as a touchdown, and I kind of looked up halfway through the play. And they say, hand off to Toney. Well, he didn't. He pitched it forward to Toney. I just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
So I'm peacocking around the house talking about my big win. And then I'm looking at it. The app, it's not updating. I'm like, what's going on? And then suddenly, Malachi Toney has way more receiving yards than I thought he did previously. So that was the update, and I didn't win. And it was probably the worst beat of my life. It's not as though it was wrongly ruled or anything like that. I just wasn't paying attention to the start of the play on Toney's 22-yard touchdown, and I just thought, oh, they said it was a rushing touchdown. I'll take them at their word. And so in my head it was. So that was my bad beat. But it sounds like you had kicking-related bad beats. From
I don't know why
playoffs.
I went in on kickers for some
What did
reason.
you say it would be?
and
Like a certain
all
number
that.
of field goals? Or?
Yeah, field goals for Santos, and then was it for Mevis? I went extra points, and so I don't know. I don't know why I mixed and matched,
really
and I was
got-
kind of wrong on both, and
You
just
got into
did not.
the D-Gen mode when it came to the NFL playoffs. That's okay, though. You can always try again next weekend.
It was bonus money. I wasn't really.
It's bonus money.
Yeah, like it was
Not
fine.
even real money.
My own
Back
money.
to Samuels.
Yes.
Good, bad, and ugly. And you can text yours in at 573-875-KTGR or do what Samuel Bruce did on YouTube and comment there. The ugly for him was Tre'Davious White. The meltdown in front of the official said, got to get your money's worth. I was kind of on his side, but it was ugly to watch. Like it was a full-blown tantrum. But at that point, the refs just decided your season on a Bo Nix lollipopping some throws that had no chance of really being completed, and they were just fishing for the penalty. On the playground, we would have said you're being cheap. That's cheap, and that's not really a thing. Cheap is not in the rule book. You can do cheap, and the Broncos did cheap, and they won with cheap. I wasn't a fan of it because I wanted the Bills to win, but yeah, it was ugly for Tre'Davious White to really kind of go after the official like that, even though I was kind of doing the same thing from my couch. So
no, I totally get it, and it should have been at least sought after for Tre'Davious White to let him know his feelings in moderation. Obviously, don't go over the top or anything.
I didn't really mind it. I thought it was awesome. It was like, it's not my fine. I'm not paying the fine that Tre'Davious White will probably inevitably have from that tirade, but I'm glad somebody said it because I was thinking it.
The good, according to Pete's text us at 875-KTGR, the good, Seattle dismantling the 49ers. I guess he wasn't a 49ers fan, or maybe he's just a Seahawks fan. He's just really happy.
Hopefully Niner A does not text in about that.
Yeah, I know. Niner A.
That had to be tough. Yeah. We got a couple of listeners. I think about him and I think about Sam when it comes to the Bears loss.
Yes.
That was he's taking his time. I understand it.
Lots of highs and lows from that. The Bills losing to a team that hadn't seen the playoffs in a decade. Well, that's not true. They were in it last year. I understand the sentiment, though. The Broncos have not been relevant in the playoffs for a while, but they got their revenge from losing to the Bills in the playoffs last year. The ugly Josh Allen at the podium, realizing he just lost his best chance to ever win a Super Bowl.
I feel that in my soul because he did.
He did.
Because he did. And look, it wasn't necessarily the best roster. He was trying to drag those receivers kicking and screaming, and they can't hold on to the football. And, Brandon Cooks caught it. He didn't catch it. But the path was there. Boy, was the path ever there. And it feels like one of those, however the rest of the playoffs go, as a fan of football and a Josh Allen fan, I'm going to be bitter, and I'm just going to be like, this doesn't even feel like the real playoffs. Josh Allen was supposed to be here. I'm still in mourning, too, I think, when it comes to the Bills, because Mahomes ain't going to be out of the tournament forever. Lamar Jackson, he might be cooked. Joe Burrow probably will get back in there at some point if they can get him a defense. But this was an opportunity. There was a lane there, and Josh Allen could not quite get over the hump. Josh Allen's defense maybe couldn't get over the hump. I don't know. They gave up a bunch of points in the game. I don't really know that it was Josh Allen's fault. He made some mistakes. But the realization that it's over and they didn't get it done is definitely an ugly.
I don't know.
It's just
man.
ugly.
He had multiple chances to win this game. He himself could have been better on some final drives.
What do you think about
the chance to take the lead and
what do you think about the choice in overtime when you know that the clock is not a factor? I think in the regular season a tie can be considered a little bit, because if you're getting the ball first or second, maybe you only have one crack at it before 10 minutes elapses. In an overtime period where there is no clock, there is one, but it doesn't matter. Right. And then this notion that the second time, if both defenses get a stop, as we saw, a field goal is all you would need to win it. What do you think about the decision that we saw? Because I think it was consistent from both teams that won the coin toss in that game and in the Bears-Rams game, the option to defer. You know what you need to do, right?
You want to kick, and knowing it. I will say, Kyle Shanahan got vilified for this in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, saying that he wanted the ball first, but then he had his explanation say, well, actually, we want the ball third because we feel like we can be even with them after we both get a possession.
The difference was
and get all that.
Mahomes.
Sure,
I
understand that.
Like it then.
But yeah, when you have all that time to just lay out, and you realize that if you get it second, and all you do is the exact same thing that your opponent did, then all of a sudden you're putting your defense out there for they have to make another stop all of a sudden. And again, we're coming towards the end of the game. Bodies are breaking down. You're trying to just get towards the end. So yeah, I see the value of, in this setting, taking it first.
And you have to maybe know your defense, because in the era where coaches are going for it on fourth down so often anyway, if you're 4th and 1 from the 28, you're probably just going for it anyway. And so you can't really take the points. In that instance, is it better if you know you're inclined to go for it on fourth down anyway to just say we want the ball first and we're gonna put it in the end zone? Who was that? What was the quote? We want the ball and we're scoring. I cannot remember which game that was. But it was at a coin toss in either a NFL or a college football.
It was an NFL game. Was that Phillip Rivers? No.
I'm going to Google this.
Yeah.
Because it's so clear in my head.
Yeah.
Matt Hasselbeck?
Oh, that's
take
right.
The ball and we're going to score, he told him.
Didn't he throw a pick?
I don't remember.
They did not score and they did not win. Like, I know that point. That much.
2004, the Packers did win the game as I'm bringing it up. The 2003 season, but January 4th, 2004 became notable after Seahawks quarterback, or Wikipediaing now live on the show.
Right, yeah.
Matt Hasselbeck proclaimed, "We want the ball and we're going to score."
Yeah.
And the Seahawks won the coin toss. He subsequently threw an interception. It was on their second drive, though, so not even on the first drive, but he throws a pick six that ends the game. Al Harris with the interception for the Packers, former St. Louis Ram as well. Shout out Al Harris.
He threw a touchdown. You can't fault him for that.
He scored.
Somebody caught his pass and scored,
Scored for the wrong team.
But
pretty good.
Yeah. No, interesting thing that we'll have to think about.
I'm sorry to Shanahan. I changed my mind. I think because it was Mahomes that time and it was kind of all new to us, I ripped him for it. But in this era now, we're a couple of years down the road, even further. Fourth downs, coaches treat them differently, and I think they're all leaning on analytics for the most part. I agree with them doing it. I think you have to take the ball first, though. That's like the next frontier. And it was the Rams that won the toss against the Bears. Am I remembering that correctly?
No. Bears won the toss. And then they got a stop on the Rams.
Yeah.
Then the Bears got stopped themselves. Through the pick. And then
what do you think, too, about Ben Johnson? Was it ugly to kick the extra point after one of the greatest plays in NFL history made by Caleb Williams to Cole Kmet? You're at home. Your offense is gassed. Now, I thought that had to be part of it. Like, you have to go run a play to win the
I was thinking about this the other day. I'm trying to think through the scenarios of what it exactly was.
To tie the game, there were 13 seconds left. The Rams end up taking a kneel. They don't even give Mevis a shot.
Yeah.
Obviously, they would have tried if they had been down by a point after a 2-point conversion. I was shocked he did kick. Was glad he did because I had bets I was hoping would win in overtime. They didn't.
Right.
Terrence Ferguson dropping the touchdown.
But
what would you have done? Like, that's an interesting
question. So here's the thing.
I'll
juxtapose this against some maybe past situations where and especially in the regular season, the way it used to be, where if you won the coin toss, in a touchdown would win the game. You could force the team to not get a chance to possess it if you scored a touchdown. In this case, though, you're at home. And even throughout, no matter what the Rams do on their first possession, you get a chance to possess the ball. You still get a chance to score yourself and have a say. Now, what I would do let's say if you go to overtime, Rams get it first, they score, kick an extra point, and then you score a touchdown, then I'm going for two.
Then you go for two.
Then I'll do it. Right.
Sudden death field goal kills you at that point.
Right.
But your thought is, the guy that just orchestrated one of the most unbelievable plays in the history of the sport is going to get to touch the football again if I kick this extra point.
Yes.
So you're okay with the call. I actually think that makes a lot of sense. I also thought with just Ben Johnson coming from the Dan Campbell school, there were moments where I thought he'd go for fourth down, and he didn't do it necessarily. And there's a moment there where I thought, is he just going to go brass balls? And he kicks it. I can't say it was the wrong decision. Like, DJ Moore, don't quit on your route, and maybe the Bears margin score when they did get the ball.
Right.
But I did wonder if people would say, hey, that's an ugly decision from a coach that we would think is maybe more forward-thinking and open-minded to something of that ilk.
There's some weird clock management stuff I thought throughout the weekend, and I think Ben Johnson was not immune to that either. Kind of towards the end of regulation, not taking a timeout and let it roll close to the 2-minute warning. I feel like that gave the Rams an opening to maybe throw the ball on on a 3rd and long to try and get the first down. It wouldn't have hurt them because they were going to run into the 2-minute warning anyway.
Yeah.
But then they ran it, and then I'm like, well, Sean McVay, what are you doing? Like, so
they should have thrown on that play
Right.
that would have run into the 2-minute on the punt if they had one anyway. Yep, I totally agree with that.
And
that was
like-
ugly, but like sometimes the ugly stuff doesn't cost you. I would argue that there was some interesting stuff from Cignetti last night. I know that this is the NFL, good, bad, and ugly, but where they have the false start, you're kind of in that mode, and I don't support like getting too cute with it like I would have a week ago with Josh Allen. I said, don't score on purpose, wait to play. It kind of felt like, well, at Indiana, get the first down, but then Miami would still have 2 timeouts to be able to stop the clock and get the ball back potentially. Then they had a false start, and it didn't really even matter. But there was some interesting stuff in that game last night, too.
Call or text us 573-875-KTGR. Other ugly and other bad and other good.
I'm going to say injuries, by the way.
Yeah, injuries.
Bo Nix, Charbonnet. I mean, these are guys that will be playing this weekend. That stinks.
Yeah. So that's tough. I will say, though, the matchup on the NFC side, I think, is the exact right matchup.
I cannot wait.
The 2 best teams in that conference.
And I think I'm going to lay the wood on the Rams because they're the underdog. And I don't think the Rams are as good as Seattle, but I think the Rams have difference-making championship players, at least on offense. Like if it's a Darnold versus Stafford battle, I am taking Stafford. JSN versus Puka is kind of a draw. But I don't know. I just feel like the Rams, like there's going to be that Charbonnet injury is going to be notable. And I'll be very curious what the Seahawks do if it comes down to like a 2-minute drive or whatever the case. There will be a fumble by Kenneth Walker in this game, or there will be a moment by Kenneth Walker in this game that will cost him money in free agency because he sometimes is just prone to these boneheaded plays, which is why Charbonnet was always in the game. He doesn't fumble. He doesn't run backwards. He doesn't go, oh, look, a bird. And then, next thing you know, the ball's wherever it might be. That's going to be very interesting because the Seahawks have been very averse to trusting Ken Walker in those spots. And so I'll be very interested by that. But you're right. I cannot wait for Seahawks-Rams. I almost am – I don't even know if I want to watch the AFC game. I know I will. But I'm just, so bummed out that it's kind of gone the way that it's gone because of the Bo Nix injury.
Yeah, I was ready to see the Bills there, honestly.
Yeah, they were supposed to be.
All
Bills,
that.
Patriots. It would have been scenes.
Bills, Patriots.
Weekend.
Oh, yeah, that would be –
those 2 games?
That's CBS's dream scenario.
Rams, Seahawks, it would have been an all-time Final Four. Now it's like, hope the NFC gets good.
Instead, we get Jarrett Stidham. Are we being too hard on Jarrett Stidham?
It's not his fault. We're not.
No.
It's not about him. Frankly, it's about the viewing experience of knowing that Josh Allen in the AFC Championship game would have been a lot more enjoyable to watch than Jarrett Stidham, for one. And 2, I'm not even telling you that the Broncos are dead men walking. They could win the game, but if they do, it just feels as though it's going to be 16-12, and I'm not going to enjoy the style of football game that we get if the Broncos should prevail.
We want the most compelling Super Bowl. Then, yeah, I think Patriots need to be there.
We probably need the Patriots. And let that decide the MVP. Stafford versus May. I know I'm barking up the wrong tree. They're going to give it to Stafford, but they should.
We're going to know by then, by the time the Super Bowl comes around, who the MVP is. But always fun to think about. Call or text us 573-875-KTGR. Give us your good, bad, and ugly from the NFL divisional round. We've got some more of your calls and texts on that. But up next, can Mizzou men's hoops get it done tonight against a ranked Georgia team? And how crucial is this game for them to get in their favor? We'll discuss next year on The Big Show, KTGR.
Miss the latest edition of The Big Show? Catch up on demand with a full show podcast on the KTGR app. Download it now, wherever you get your apps.
Welcome to every gym in January. Membership prices, crazy high. Crowds, even worse. All just to wait in line for a bench. Or, hear me out, you could build your own home gym from Play It Again Sports. Free weights, dumbbells, plates, treadmills, ellipticals, benches, racks, and more. New and used. At prices that don't feel like a crime. No crowds, no monthly fees, no awkward eye contact with Chad curling on the squat rack. Play It Again Sports. Think of them first so you don't finish last. PlayItAgainSportsColumbiaMo.com.
Paradise doesn't have to be far away. Sometimes it's a quiet walk through a state park. Sometimes it's your favorite takeout and a night in. At Shangri-La, we believe that cannabis belongs in those everyday moments, not as an escape, but as part of living well. That's why we offer 20% off select category every day, plus 20% off store-wide every Sunday. Thoughtful products, honest guidance, real value. Shangri-La, discover paradise. Learn more at ShangriLaDispensaries.com.
Hi, I'm Tom Connors. Went to Mark Patrick's hypnosis seminar February 6, 2019. Nothing worked before. Left there and never smoked again. Amazing. Easy, affordable, and guaranteed. A year later, with my wife, Michelle, attended Mark Patrick's weight loss seminar. She lost 18 pounds, and I lost 43 in 8 weeks.
It's true. He smoked 2 packs a day, and nothing worked until Mark Patrick Hypnosis. Now we're losing weight together, eating healthy, full on half the food, crazy, enjoying exercising. Who would have believed Mark Patrick Hypnosis really works?
It's amazing. I can breathe again. My blood pressure went down, and I've got so much energy.
So much energy.
And look great.
Lose weight or stop smoking with hypnosis, only $59.99. Seminars, Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn, Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis, 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking hypnosis, 8 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
So, Mr. Fancy Dancy Sports Car Dude, you say you were distracted by a raccoon feasting in the road? Okay. How about the fact that you were going way too fast when there's like 5 inches of snow on the ground? Nice ditch you got there, bro. Now you need a savior, a do-over. Find your phone and just Google I-70 Towing. They're Mid-Missouri's go-to crew for slide-offs. When your winter world seems to have been wrecked, call the team they hope you never have to meet. I70towing.com. A raccoon.
Just ridiculous.
It's hard to believe basketball season is already here. 1851 Underground Tap and Grill reminds you that whether you need a place to grab a bite after a local high school or college game, or you just want to plop down with some friends and watch some hoops on TV, they've got a spot for you. 1851 Underground has drink specials and discount happytizers for happy hour. Check them out on Facebook or at 1851underground.com. It's not a secret, but it is underground. 1851 Underground Tap and Grill in the historic Brick District, downtown Fulton.
You know your favorites. Now it's time to put them on the map. Nominations are open for Inside Columbia Magazine's Best of Columbia 2026, now through March 1st. Nominate the businesses and places you love, including Best Mexican Food, Best Spa, Best Steak, Best Hairstylist, Best Lawn Care, and more. You can nominate once per day, so come back and support the businesses you love most. Best of Columbia 2026 starts with you. Nominate today at InsideColumbia.net.
Your daily fix of local sports lives here. This is The Big Show on KTGR.
Give us your good, bad, and ugly from NFL Divisional Round Weekend, 573-875-KTGR here on The Big Show. And get to your texts and calls on that. Jerry still is in the camp of, like, look, take the ball second. Like, it is still very advantageous to know what you need after your opponent has done what it has done. And if you have the guarantee that you will get the ball at some point, being second and knowing what you need is still advantageous. And look, I still think that that's a strategy that can still work.
It's defensible to choose that. Yeah.
It just, I think to me, it comes down to confidence in your group. Like if you feel confident that you're going to get something on your first possession. And then you know that your defense is playing really well and can hold your opponent out of the end zone no matter what. Then worst case scenario there is you've got the ball in your hands with a chance to get the game-winning score. And if you go second, that can still be true, but it may not be as much of a guarantee because the other team might still get a touchdown and kick an extra point.
Like, well, and put it this way, and maybe this isn't perfect, but if you were to be able to set yourself in the vacuum as a football fan and say, I'm watching my team, It's 4th and 1 from the 27-yard line. What do I hope they do? I usually am like, go for it. Unless it's like the game-winning field goal, I'm normally going, get a yard, go for it. Analytics is always going to tell you to go for it. And so if you're the coach that chooses to go, if you're in that situation and because you went first in overtime, you say, well, I want to kick now, but now I know that the other team can beat me by going, well, then maybe this isn't the conversation for you. But if it's a case where you would be able to trust in your group and say, look, if we're taking the ball second because we know what we need to do versus I'm going to put myself in a situation where I'll feel compelled to take the points, as they call it, if I have the ball first. I think you got to know yourself as a coach and like you said, know your team to what's going to be the best, most advantageous position for you. But I'd always want to be in the spot where I can be aggressive. And so I'd like to think like if I took the ball, I wouldn't be afraid of going for it, right? And saying, look, we got to go score a touchdown.
Right.
Touchdown's going to win this game unless it's a case where the defenses are just that good. But like you said there, that's still part of knowing your group. So I really can see both sides on this one.
And again, like analytics is one thing, and it can inform a lot of what your decision should be. And I think now that it is more a part of the game, it has allowed coaches to be a little bit smarter about how they handle situations. But again, the thing is, like, if you're reading this from a book, that book will not change game to game. Like, it will still read the exact same thing. Hey,
Right.
go for it on 4th and 1 inside the 30 or whatever it is. And it has its formula. This is when you go for it. This is when you don't. But games never go the exact same way. You always control games a lot differently. You control some better and you control some worse. So you have to find that nuance and knowing what the book says, but also knowing how your team is doing in that sense. And like, okay, is going for it really the best decision? So, and is taking the ball first or second really the best decision? It's fascinating. That's why, like, coaching's an art form. Game management like this is even like, we criticize the game management part because it's the easiest thing for us to criticize. But I think even us, like, there's a lot that we don't know that goes all the way into it. They think about these scenarios of, should we take it first in overtime or not? Like on Tuesday of this week, this week, the Seahawks are thinking about, hey, if we're ever in this scenario, what do we do?
I think you have to be if you're the head coach and in charge of those decisions.
So it is fascinating to think about, though, with this new age of overtime rules and things like that. Call or text us at 573-875-KTGR if you want to weigh in. Okay, Mizzou takes on Georgia tonight in men's hoops. This is, I think, pretty similar to last week. Not an exact same team. They get their margins a different way. Georgia really does know how to score the basketball. They've got a fast offense.
It should be a fun game to watch.
If Mizzou can keep up with the tempo, I think for sure it could be very entertaining just from the objective side of things. How does Mizzou get the margin that it needs, though, in a game like this?
Yeah, I mean, kind of playing into the best version of last year's team. It would be fun to see them get out and run a little bit and be willing to cause some of that havoc defensively where, hey, when the team speeds up, we've seen Dennis Gates coach teams be able to get into the passing lanes and then find themselves in transition and say, hey, we'll beat you at your game. You want to play at this tempo? We've got the athletes that are happy to do it. We haven't seen maybe as much of that this year, Andy, and so that'll be what my curiosity is as to whether or not that's still something that, this Mizzou team can be, because they have really slowed it down compared to kind of where we're used to seeing them. I think the tempo, according to Ken Palm, 224th in the country when it comes to adjusted tempo for Missouri this year. Georgia, on the other hand, they rate second, I believe, in adjusted tempo.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go.
They fast.
They want that track meet.
Yeah. Interesting to kind of look through the numbers of what Mizzou might have the edge in. First of all, because Georgia loves to get out and run, got to protect the basketball. Got to have a manageable turnover number tonight. No more than 11 or 12, if you ask me. I think you got to try and win that battle to prevent Georgia from getting into the game that it wants to really be in. Which, look, Mizzou probably still has the players that can do that. But as you mentioned, Brendan, like they're a little bit at a slower pace this year, and they've still been able to win games that way. But it's going to be interesting who wins out in the end. I do see it as an opportunity that it's similar to the Florida game, though, where Auburn, not great at three-point shooting. Not an excellent three-point shooting team. Florida at the time really wasn't either. And so Mizzou made a bet. They're like, okay, let them shoot.
Yeah.
And even when they hit a few of their first three-pointers, Florida did, Mizzou kept with it. Like, okay, no, they're gonna level off at some point. Let's stay in our zone. Let's focus on rebounding, getting these long misses. The guards need to be ready to turn around and box out. So let's just wait them out and see if this can hold up. And sure enough, it did. And Mizzou was able to climb back in, lead most of the second half, close out the victory. I wonder if they can do a similar thing against this Auburn team. Like, again, Auburn's going to try and beat you down the floor. If you can beat them down the floor and keep them out of the paint as much as possible, then maybe you might have a chance to be better on the possessions yourself to beat this team.
Yeah, and that's what they're going to have to try to find a way to do, find that edge. Looking at some of the recent results for Georgia, they handled Arkansas at home in their last game, 2 ranked teams. They did lose to an Ole Miss team that I was, maybe not super respectful of when Mizzou was going to Oxford to play. Obviously, Mizzou ended up losing that game, but an overtime loss to Ole Miss that Georgia took at home this past Wednesday, so not even quite a week ago. I mean, they're a different style, I think, than what we've seen in some of these SEC teams, but I also feel like as much as the Ken Pom has them right up there with the big dogs, like, SLU is right next to Georgia in the Ken Pom rankings. That was a small joke for you, small SLU joke.
Yeah.
As much as, you can look at those rankings and Georgia's right there. I mean, just a couple of spots behind the class of Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky, some of those teams that are, top 25-esque types of teams. And they're above Auburn, right? A team that Mizzou already beat at home. I still feel like you can kind of throw a lot of these SEC teams in the churn, and on any given day, one could beat another. And to have the home court advantage is what I'll lean on in believing that Mizzou can win this. What says the Ken Pom? I know they give like the score projection. Is there a projection
yes,
on this
there
one?
is.
For Mizzou, who is, by the way, in the 50s in Ken Pom, Georgia's 28th. So there is a discrepancy there, but
yeah,
what does home court mean, Andy?
It says Georgia 85, Mizzou 84 on the margin there.
Home court means nothing, apparently.
To be fair, when they faced Auburn last week, it was the same thing. 1 point loss was the projection for Mizzou in that game. It's a toss-up game.
And sports books have Mizzou as a ever so slight favorite, but it's really
right.
It's pretty close to a coin flip.
So I mean, again, that's. I think most games in the SEC that Mizzou will play this year, that's what you can expect. So, it puts the premium on the home games, but also if you looked at bracketology today, Brendan, I don't know if you did, from Joe Lenardi.
I did, and I don't make a habit of it yet.
Mizzou is the first team out right now.
Okay.
In Joe Lenardi's latest bracketology update today.
All right. And what are they, 3-2 in conference?
3-2.
So if you kind of ping pong the rest of the way and you're either 9-9 or 10-8, it feels like you're going to be squarely on that bubble as, first 4 out, or maybe you're the last team in. I'd love to see a win like this continue to get you closer to the 10-8 side of that ledger and maybe give you the opportunity to take things out of the committee's hands. But it really does feel like we're going to go through a Mizzou men's basketball season where they are a bubble team. They can play their way out of the bubble, but they can also, you start to drop some of these home games that we would say are those coin flips, and too many of the coins flip against you, then maybe we're not really talking about you on the bubble. So this is a big one. This is one I'd really like to see him get, and get it for Storm and Norman again.
Oh, yeah.
Happy 91st birthday to Norm Stewart.
That's going to be great. I don't know if he'll be at the game tonight, but if he is, you got to imagine they'll show him on the video board and wish him happy birthday on his court, of course. And we'll see what Mizzou can do tonight. So what's your score prediction, Brendan? What you got?
All right. If it weren't Storm and Norman's birthday, I might be a little more negative, but you can't. I mean, come on. We got to see him get this one. Over under, by the way, is 164.5.
Hey, it can be fast,
expecting a barn burner, and I say they'll get pretty close to that. Give me Mizzou 82, Georgia 80. I think it's a fun, close game that the Tigers are going to find a way to get it in the end. This will be a gut check game in the final minute.
I'm going to go Mizzou 85. Georgia 79.
There we go.
Yeah.
2 wins on the board.
Look, I do think it's about Mizzou. I mean, Mizzou needs to get to a requisite number scoring wise, but I do think defensively they can, if they make that bet and see how Georgia shoots from the outside, and if it works in their favor, then it comes down to rebounding. Now you gotta be better rebounding than you were this past Saturday against LSU. That's still very key, but this has been a better rebounding team, I think, pretty clearly since conference play has started. So again, a coin flip game. We'll see if Mizzou can get it. Could be another big lift for what this season is. Coverage will begin at 7:30 for Mizzou and Georgia right here on KTGR. Up next, we hear from Mizzou wrestling coach Brian Smith. 2 wins on the road in Big 12 play for Tiger Style Wrestling this past weekend. Coach Smith joins us next to talk about it here on The Big Show.
Now, your local sports center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good evening, I'm Andy Humphrey. This Sports Center update is with Lee's Tire Company. If it's round and rubber, Lee sells it. Go to leestirecompany.com. Again, Mizzou and Georgia tip-off tonight at 8 o'clock as the Tigers look to shake off their recent loss against LSU on the road this past Saturday. Georgia, meanwhile, they also are trying to build upon things. They just beat Arkansas at home at 90-76 this past weekend. Both teams, though, 3-2 in conference, so we'll see who gets the better of whom tonight. Coverage begins at 7:30 right here on KTGR. Mizzou football picks up another transfer to add to their defense for 2026. Former Ole Miss cornerback Chris Graves Jr. announced his commitment to the Tigers today. He will join a cornerback room that lost 3 of its top guys this past year due to graduation. Also lost a couple guys to the portal. Mizzou has taken 26 commitments from transfers this past offseason, or this current offseason, as the transfer portal is still closed, but Mizzou can still add players that are already in the portal. ABC 17 Storm Track forecast is with Billiards on Broadway, home to fresh hand patty burgers, fresh cut fries, a long list of Missouri beers on tap, pool tables, and huge TVs. Billiards on Broadway in downtown Columbia.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. I'm tracking more clouds this evening.
Backed up in the connector at 63 and I-70, but Brian's team eventually plucked out the problem. It was a mouse, but like the computer kind, which the family then asked if they could keep afterwards. We didn't ask why. Better call Brian and unplug your plumbing problems. BrianWarePlumbing.com.
This is Brian Mays with Family Pawn Stores. We've been working with Zimmer Communications for decades. Since we started our branding campaign, we've seen our business grow by leaps and bounds. I signed on for radio and ended up with website service, digital advertising, plus all the production. Having a partner like Zimmer Communications has been paramount in building our business. I can rely on their staff for every facet of marketing, and that's just been a real relief.
Zimmer Communications. You know business. We grow business. ZimmerCommunications.com.
Hey, Columbia, this is Coach Agnew from API. I've got a New Year's deal for you don't want to miss. If you've been thinking about getting in shape, now's the perfect time to jump in. Sign up at API before the end of January and get your first 31 days for just $31. That's right, 31 days, $31. With expert coaching, a supportive community, and all the tools you'll need to crush your fitness goals. There's never been a better time to join the API family. So come on in and let's make this year your strongest year yet. Sign up now at APIProjectFitness.com.
Lose weight or stop smoking with hypnosis, guaranteed or your money back. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings, late night eating binges, boredom eating, and stress eating. Also, stop smoking with hypnosis. Hypnosis Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn, Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30, stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
The best local sports talk around on your ride home. You've got The Big Show on KTGR.
We're back here on The Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app, as we look to Mizzou wrestling now, and a good weekend for Tiger Style Wrestling. On the road on the West Coast, they beat Arizona State and Utah Valley, both in Big 12 play, as the Tigers get 2 wins under their belts. And here to talk with us about it, the head coach of Mizzou Wrestling, Brian Smith, here on the KTGR hotline. Coach, tighter contest at Arizona State, but you get the win there, and then a pretty solid win, 31-9 over Utah Valley. Just how did you see your wrestlers line up the way that they did and go through their individual matches to get you those 2 wins?
Well, we scored a lot of bonus points against Arizona State because we knew they have a really solid team, where they're good, they're really good. Those Larkin brothers that we lost to, both of them are ranked in the top 5 in the country, both of them. And we competed with them. We just didn't beat them, but where they're good, they're really good. And they beat us in those matches. But then we had like Cam and Aiden pull off 2 big pins for us. And so that was good. We needed those bonus points for that win, where then it continued in Utah, where we scored a lot of bonus points. That was the best I think we've wrestled this season. Our guys just kind of went after it. And that team had just wrestled South Dakota State the night before, who's ranked 10th in the country and lost by 3 points, the team, Utah, and we put it on them. So I was pleased with the weekend.
For sure. You mentioned the bonus points. It really seemed that was the difference in that duel, with both of your teams there winning 5 matches individually, but the bonus points on top of that is what gave you the edge. So in those matches where Aiden Sinclair gets his and Cam Steed and Evan Bates, or other guys that got bonus points there, Josh Edmond with a major, just how did you see them working through those matches to get the real edge that you needed?
Well, they're pretty intelligent wrestlers, and you don't have to tell them, hey, this duel's going to come down to the wire, and they know it. They could tell the way it was going that it's going to be tight. So, Cam and Aiden just went out and pinned their guys in the first period. They just overwhelmed them and put them in, we call it a snake, and pinned them. And so that was huge. And then, Josh has had a really good season. He's been consistent, but doesn't always score bonus points. So for him to put the guy on his back at the end was really big because, getting that extra bonus point, we knew it was going to be important, and it was. We end up winning the duel by, I think, 5 or 6 points, but it was all bonus points that made the difference.
For sure. Brian Smith, Mizzou wrestling coach here on the Big Show KTGR. And then you kind of continued that as you go and visit Utah Valley. Several guys getting bonus point victories in that one as well. But even some guys getting their first ones on the year for you, like Gage Walker and Teague Travis, their first wins in dual competition. Just how did you see the group as a whole go through their matches against another Big 12 foe that, again, they've got, nationally ranked guys themselves?
Yeah. Gage got, he had the Larkin kid from Arizona State who's ranked top 5 in the country and battled with him, but then comes out against Utah and gets a big win over a ranked opponent in overtime. So we just pulled him out of red shirt. So it's pleasing because he started for us last year at 25, but just got too big, and he's really fitting into 33 and he looks good. So getting that first ranked win was big for him. And then there's other guys. I mean, when you look at Mac Mager at 125, he's just been so consistent and he just keeps winning. He isn't flashy. He's scoring points. I think he came close to a major against Utah, but he just keeps winning big for us. And the consistency is huge because he's usually starting off the duels, and he's a freshman for us. So we're really pleased with him. And then, Evan Bates has been consistent. I think I just saw a ranking where he's moved up to 10th in the country just because his consistent winning is going to just keep moving him up there. So I really like where we are as a team. I know going into Friday, it's a huge challenge with Okie State. They're going to have every guy, I think, is ranked close to top 10, and they have a lot of guys ranked really high. So there'll be some competitive bouts for us where we'll have an opportunity to knock some people off and move up in the rankings.
Absolutely. Brian Smith, Mizzou wrestling coach here on the Big Show KTGR. Also wanted to ask about Jay Conway, who was in the lineup for both of those duels as well. Hadn't been out there for about a month, but gets back into action and does get a victory for you with a pin against the guy from Utah Valley at 165. Just how have you seen him also get back into the swing of things here?
Well, one of the things is, with Teague Travis transferring over, we had to decide who's going 57, and Teague won that spot. And Teague goes out and dominates at Utah Valley, and then lost to Larkin, who's ranked top 2 or 3 in the country in a war. Just they battled, but he fell short. So Teague is looking really good. But then Jake bumps up a weight class and goes out and gets a pin, against Utah Valley, which was big. You're going up a weight class. He doesn't look small at that weight either. He's fit right in. So it's exciting because we've had Max Mayfield, who's been out. So he's filling in just great there and scoring points, and gives us, when you look at it, this is a kid that's a national qualifier and won a match at nationals last year. This kid's a top quality kid that can go in the lineup and get wins for us. And that's what we expect of him.
For sure. Good to see him out there this past weekend. And you kind of touched on it, how you've got more stiff competition coming up this weekend, but you get it at home, obviously, at the Hearn Center as Oklahoma State comes to town, ranked number 5. That'll be on Friday night. And then another Big 12 duel as you face Northern Colorado. So you're really in the thick of the Big 12 competition now, and going up against the wrestlers that you're going to see very soon in the Big 12s. As you get closer to that point, just how do you view your team as they, again, go through those challenges, and also just make sure that they can stow it away, maybe even for future use when you get closer to the postseason?
Yeah, I think at this point in the season, we talk to them and just, you've got to see, you can't make drastic changes right now. It's just little things, just fine tuning little things that you're doing. Like if you're taking the same single leg shot and you're only finishing 1 of 4 of them, is your percentage. If you're 25%, we've got to make changes there because we got to up that. Or we got to change what we're doing, shooting wise. And we're just tweaking little things like that in the room. And the guys are doing a great job with it. They are working on the things that they got to get better at. And and the things that they do well, they're going to continue to work on. So that's all you can do. It's just the little tweaks right now. Focus in. Wins now are really important for seeding in the conference. So every match from now on is a conference match, and it'll decide where they're going to be seated at the tournament, if they qualify a spot to the NCAAs, which is important. So all these things, they just got to focus on wrestling. I focus on that kind of stuff, but it's fun. It's the fun time of the year. Some people look at it as the tough part of the year, when you hit towards the end of January, because you can look at it, it's getting tough. It's a long season, the grind. But this team comes in and they're, I just look at the attitudes they have, and, at Aiden Sinclair, just always with a smile, loving to be in the practice room. And that kind of permeates through the room that, hey, this is good stuff. We're excited. We're a young team that's growing and getting better. Let's go have some fun and knock some people off.
That'll be what Mizzou Wrestling goes for this weekend. Is again, the Tigers host Oklahoma State Friday night at 6:30, and then on Sunday at 1:00 they'll host Northern Colorado. 2 more Big 12 duels for Tiger Style Wrestling this weekend here in Columbia. And great to have Brian Smith, the head coach of Mizzou Wrestling, on with us to talk all about it. Coach, congrats on the win this past weekend. Thanks for taking the time today, and good luck as Oklahoma State and Northern Colorado come to town.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Andy.
It's the Big Show on KTGR and the KTGR app. And by the way, those 2 dual meets this weekend are 2 of the 3 remaining chances that you have to see Mizzou Wrestling here in town. We're getting close to the end of the season here, and the Tigers only have 3 more dual meets left. So 2 of them this weekend. Those are your next 2 chances to go and see them. The last chance will be later on in February when the Tigers take on Oklahoma. Then that'll be it. Then it'll be close to the Big 12s in Tulsa, and then the NCAA championships in Cleveland this year. So Tiger Style Wrestling trying to beef up as much as possible before those postseason tournaments roll around. Thanks for joining us here on The Big Show. Thanks also to the injury expert, Will Carroll, for coming on. Coming up in about an hour and a half, Tiger Radio Network coverage will begin for Mizzou men's basketball as the Tigers take on Georgia at Mizzou Arena tonight. And at 4 o'clock tomorrow, we'll be back here on The Big Show to talk all about that game and what it means. So be sure to join us for that tomorrow afternoon at 4. He's Brendan. I'm Andy. We're done for now.